Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for downloading Sporgy for free on iTunes or from ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate Sporgy 5 stars on iTunes and help to tell others about Sporgy by leaving a comment. Thank you for following Sporgy on Twitter at Sporgy Podcast and on Instagram at Sporgy_podcast. Please follow Sporgy on Facebook to like and share Sporgy. You can also email the show. The address is sporgy@ChristopherMedia.net. If you would like to donate to Sporgy, you can click on the PayPal button at ChristopherMedia.net. If you use Amazon.com, please click and bookmark the Amazon link at ChristopherMedia.net. It will not cost you any extra money, and you will help to support Sporgy. If you are looking to launch your own website, please click through the HostGator banner at ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media uses HostGator to host all of the shows produced by the Christopher Media Network. When you click through the HostGator banner at ChristopherMedia.net and sign up for HostGator, you're helping to support Sporgy. We know that choosing the perfect gift for a man is a difficult task, but not anymore. TheBroBasket.com is here to help. We all know men are hard to shop for, but what do guys actually like? Their favorite alcohol, that's what. It could be craft beer, wine, whiskey, scotch, or tequila. TheBroBasket.com will put it in a gift basket full of their favorite gear and goodies. You can customize your own Bro Basket or choose from a variety of different Bro Baskets, like the Ultimate Import Sampler, the Jack and Coke gift set, or the Junior Executive gift basket. Boozeless, but still cool, Bro Baskets are also available. TheBroBasket.com gives you many shipping options to choose from, including rush delivery and Saturdays. 21 and over, please. State and local laws apply. Beer, wine, and liquor are not available for shipping in all states. You can help to support Christopher Media by clicking through the BroBasket.com banner at ChristopherMedia.net. Men used to be hard to shop for. TheBroBasket.com.
Welcome to Sporgy, the show that gives you half-ass sports fans giving their half-ass opinions. And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Sporgy number 42, the year anniversary. We did it, Rich. We made it a whole goddamn year. Brought in the Iceman along for the ride. I just introduced everybody. I didn't mean to do that. But, you know, it's here. It's special. But I'm Chris.
I'm Rich.
And I am the Iceman.
And your bracket is garbage. I'm talking to you, everybody.
Hold on. 42. There's two numbers that come to, there's two players that come to mind under 42. Jackie Robinson.
Obviously number one.
And Mariano Rivera.
What about Ronnie Lott?
Hey, man, I'm just baseball's right around the corner, okay? My mind's been on that lately, so that's why those are the two that popped into my head.
Well, those are two very good numbers. Like I said, number one obviously is Jackie Robinson, but yeah, I got to give Ronnie Lott his due.
Oh, no, definitely.
Darren Sharper, also number 42, is a tribute to Ronnie Lott.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, my brain stopped at Jackie Robinson, so that's what I'm saying on the subject.
And if you follow NASCAR, it's Larson, so, yeah.
Well, before we jump into all the sports talk, we covered this on the very first show, and I figure probably once a year it's good to cover it because it's a sports show, so if you go back and listen to a year-old show, it doesn't age very well because we're talking about shit that came and went. So I don't imagine many people went and checked out the very first show. But, you know, we decided on the name Sporgy because it's a mashup of two words, sports and orgy, basically meaning you just have a sporgy, you know, a sports orgy of shit to choose from, et cetera, et cetera. And it's also a nod to two guys in local talk radio who I think it's fair to say pretty much influenced me and Chris to even get into doing this. So,
yeah, and in our defense, they were off the air when we started this. They've shown back up again in podcast form.
Yes, but they haven't bitched, so obviously, and I'm pretty sure somebody in their crew has done a search and been like, "Who the fuck are these assholes thinking they're taking our word?" But I also just think it's funny because if you look it up on Urban Dictionary, apparently it's a spooning orgy, which I can understand where people might. Now I understand why we have sometimes a hard time getting our name in certain social media formats because they associate it with some sort of sex act, group sex act, and it's like, that is not what no. I mean,
sports people, get your minds out of the gutter.
Plethora in sports don't smash together like orgy in sports do, as sporgy. So yeah, that's why we chose it. But so there you go. So if you're listening now, you'll know where it's from. And if someone starts listening 6 months from now, they'll be like, why the fuck are these guys called sporgy? But the definition that we use is on Urban Dictionary. You just have to scroll down past a whole lot of other definitions. So
yeah, it's like the eighth one.
Yes. And pretty much anyone from the Detroit area gave it a thumbs up. People not from the Detroit area gave it a thumbs down because they were like, what the fuck kind of definition is that? But whatever.
And now you know, everybody.
So what are we starting with? I know that
take your bracket and throw it away.
Okay.
If you're listening and you're saying you have an intact bracket, you're a fucking liar. All right? No, I don't think anybody had this Final Four. There's probably one homer in South Carolina who's got a boner. I mean, everyone saw Gonzaga coming. Everybody saw UNC coming. Oregon, although number 3, I don't think many people had them in the hunt, but pretty Pacific Northwesty Final Four with Gonzaga up at Spokane. Oregon's where it is. And then, you got South Carolina and North Carolina. So it could be an all Pacific Northwest Final Four. It could be an all final game. It could be an all Carolina final game. Who the fuck knows?
I will say this as a complete rookie at filling out a bracket and being the most casual of casual college basketball fan. I did debate throwing Oregon or North Carolina in there. Never once did I think to throw the Gamecocks into the fucking Final Four. I mean, and it's I don't get points for thinking about doing something, but I was like, I'll play it safe. I figured if, I had 2 number 1 seeds and two number 2 seeds, I thought that would be good enough. No, So.
Well, I'm going to maintain what I said in the chat. I'm still the ICEman. 44 out of 60 picks. I'll take it. 75% of the brackets.
Yeah, dude, you got 4 picks more than me.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not act like
if Gonzaga
act like you're running away with it, dude.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying I'm running away.
Loses and UNC wins, I win the bracket. So just say don't.
That's true.
Dude, you're probably like the fucking people in Chicago who are booking tickets, with 5 outs left. What was that?
2003.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're calling their bosses saying they're going to need time off from work. Yes.
I'll call this. If South Carolina beats Gonzaga, I'll never fill out another bracket.
See, this is my first one, so this is all new to me. I'm just like, is this the bracket busters that we've been talking about? Because there was really no big, holy shit moment in the first round. I mean, there was a couple really in the
Middle Tennessee State beat Minnesota. Yeah, the first round really was Middle Tennessee State beat Minnesota. That was the big from the first round. That was the big upset, so to speak.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, that's a 12th seed taking down a 5 seed. I mean, they're kind of they're more closely matched than a 16 taking down a 1, which has never happened as far as I know.
Yeah, ever? I mean,
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't know.
A 16 has never beat a 1 ever? That's crazy.
I am going by, like I said, you're taking it from the most casual of college basketball fan right here. I have no idea. I mean, there's a real easy way to check, and I'll do that. Okay. The answer is no. Nope. Never happened.
That tournament's been along for a long ass time, too.
Yep. There's been 15 first-round games decided by single digits, but never an upset of a top seed in the first game of the tourney. So, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just glad I'm hanging in there as much as I am. I'll let you two.
Okay, 100%
pull down your pants
disclosure.
and wave your dicks in each other's faces, talking about how big they are.
100% disclosure. This is actually my first full fill-out bracket. No BS.
Wow. I'm the bracket veteran. I filled out like 4, I think, in my whole life. Maybe 5.
Yeah, but Earl, ever since I've known you, you've been an all-around sports guy. I mean, you've always known about pretty much any sport that fucking back in the day ESPN would cover.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely knowledgeable about sports, even college sports, but
That's
I've
what I'm
never
saying,
sat
you pay
down and filled
attention.
out a bracket.
Yeah, it's just something. See, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's just something that we never did, right? I mean, even when we were younger, we never sat there and argued over like who was going to win what in you know what I'm saying? The national championship of basketball, even when we were kids. So yeah, it's just something that I don't know. I always heard other people do. I figured it was something for Seinfeld fans to do. It just seemed like something that people that would watch Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm would do.
It's what you
White
do
people
after you
shit.
turn 30.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yes, both of you were correct. Yes, white people shit over 30. Yes,
Yes.
that's what I would say.
All right, so I guess Final Fours this weekend. Next Monday will be the championship game. And yeah, there you go. Another March Madness shot in the ass. But before we did move on from that, I believe Earl, you had something you wanted to talk about involving UCLA.
Yeah, Lonzo Ball, LaVar Ball, just sitting there saying how much better his kids were going to be than Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and their kids. And that caused a big stir this week. I mean, I'm full support of guarantees and, you know, building up your team and building up your own kid. I totally agree with that. But LeBron James got bent when LaVar Ball started talking about how much better his kids were going to be than, you know, LeBron James's kids. Now, normally, when it comes to LeBron James, I tell him to shut the fuck up and I can't stand him and he's wrong for everything. Well, unfortunately this time, or fortunately, however you look at it, he's right. LaVar Ball has no business talking about anybody else's kids at all. You know, what parents do with their kids or don't do with their kids, you know, that's on them. At no point should you ever start talking about somebody else's kids. Because, I mean, do you want to get shot? Because that's how you get shot.
Wow,
And
you're coming from a place I totally didn't even think you were going to come from with this, but all right.
I call a spade, you know. LaVar Ball, you know, trying to live vicariously through his kids, as Chris called it, making all the decisions for them, guaranteeing that they're going to go to UCLA when they graduate high school. I mean, at some point, you got to think about the kids and the aspect that they're living. They never get to have a life for themselves. I watched him on Stephen A. Smith and on First Take. And Stephen A. Smith asked Lonzo, did it ever once occur to you to say, you know, Dad, you're saying this and you're doing that. Could you tone it down a bit? And Lonzo looked straight at Stephen A. and said, yeah, I was raised that you can't really talk back to your father. So anything he says goes. He says, go bite the tree. Lonzo's going there and gnawing on a tree.
Yeah, but you get over 18, you can tell them to fuck off.
Well, you can, but I mean, in the past, when you told him to fuck off, he's ready to whoop your ass.
You know, when you're 18, you can go to jail for doing it now. Charges can be filed.
Well,
People can be detained.
It's easy to say one thing if you never lived the lifestyle like that. I had a pretty rough life, you know, when I was a kid. And I know what would happen if I talked back. So even when I got older, I still didn't want to talk back because I knew what would happen. Or what could happen. And my parents weren't the parents that were scared of the police. They actually were, you know, the proverbial hand me the phone and say, dial 911, because by the time you dial the other one, you're going to need them.
Well, his type of parenting, Peter Berg did a HBO miniseries, I guess. I don't know. But one of the episodes he did was about, I guess they called them trophy parents that are pushing their kids, et cetera, et cetera. And this is nothing new. And the kid being held hostage to where he can't talk back or anything like this. That's nothing new either. And, I was listening to Sports Talk, and one of the people on there brought up a decent point. They said, look, I have nothing wrong with him trying to start a brand for his sons so they can make their own money. It's kind of like the hip hop record labels that instead of going to the major labels, signing shit contracts and getting pennies on the dollar, started their own labels, got the hype train built up to the point where when they went to the major labels, all they needed them to do was use them for distribution. And so they kept the lion's share of the money. If that was all he was doing, I'd really have no problem with what he was doing. In fact, I'd call him a very smart businessman for doing that. I mean, if he's going to start, a brand based on his children and his last name, and it will sell, and Nike and Adidas and Reebok aren't taking a cut of it, hey, go him. But this goes beyond that, dude. This is a guy who I'm even hesitant to talk about him because I don't think we should be giving him any more attention. The problem is that, and this is what I told Chris exactly before you came on, Earl. We're not by any means of the imagination spearheading the sports media, so it can't be placed at our feet that this asshole has fucking national TV time. Okay, I can't do penance for other people's sins. And since they're going to shove this dickhead out in front of us, and he's got 2 more kids coming up, which means he ain't going anywhere anytime soon, then yeah, fuck it. Since he wants to be in the conversation, fuck it. Let's talk about him. And I mean, I think it's a sad thing, man. I mean, how many times have we heard about parents that are like this, that raise these kids, and these kids have such high expectations set for them by their parents, and then they fail? Or I can't remember the quarterback shit. His dad like from birth put a football in his fucking crib, never let him eat a hamburger, never let him eat sweets, had him working out, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they called him Robo Quarterback. I can't remember his name, but anyways, he went to college, got a taste of independence, hit the pros, and just fizzled out. He couldn't handle it because he had never had any freedom. And when you have a kid so much under your thumb that they have no freedom, they're going to go nuts the minute they fucking get it, most of the time. And just because this kid doesn't talk back to his dad in college, you got to remember, he's a one and done, okay? He's not even a full year removed from living at home. Wait till he gets a fucking big contract, because he's going to go high in the draft from everything I've heard. Wait till he gets a big-ass contract, gets his own house, and he looks at his dad and goes, get the fuck out of my house. Because at that point, it's his money.
Hey, Rich, what about the kids Earl? That they place so much expectation on them, and you've got to do this, you're going to do this. Like that kid from Arkansas, whose dad locked him out of the house and shit. And you're going to do this, and they get all of this expectations, and when they fail, they can't handle it, and they end up committing suicide.
That's quite a jump. Can you give me examples?
Oh, there's plenty of stories that you can find on the internet nowadays of kids that they're so disappointed that they've let their folks down that they've ended up committing suicide.
I mean, that's obviously the most drastic and tragic possibility that could come out of this situation, is that the kid takes his own life because for whatever reason he didn't live up to his dad's expectations. All right. I would hope more so than that this kid gets a taste of independence and tells his dad to go take a flying fuck at a donut. That's what I would hope. Probably what's going to happen is what happens with a lot of kids who come from families like this, because as far as if all of my background reading on his father is correct, this guy was like wannabe football player, never played a game. He was on practice squads. He played in NFL Europe, but he was never good enough to actually be in the NFL. So he's walking around with this like cockswagger, like he did something with his life, and he really didn't. The only thing he did was produce his kids, and he even said that he chose his wife based solely on the fact that he wanted pretty children.
Which I mean, fucked up.
I mean, if I'm his wife, I'm like, well, fuck you, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because this motherfucker, his head looks like a half-sucked milk dud. He looks like a fucking, Nazi experiment gone awry. He ain't no fucking prize to look at. And his personality is obviously in the fucking shitter. But I mean, what are you gonna do, dude? What are you gonna do? If the kid succeeds, people will say, well, there you go. He did the right thing. They say it about Joe Jackson and the Jackson children all the time. That's a hack joke for comedians when they talk about Michael Jackson, talk about his childhood. Yeah, whatever. Joe Jackson beat your ass into stardom. Shut up and get some therapy with all the money you got. Now, if the kid fizzles out and he doesn't do anything, then it's going to be all on the kid. He couldn't handle the pressure. And eventually you'll get people that'll start blaming the parent. By the way, the person I was trying to think of was Todd Marinovich. That's the quarterback I was trying to think of. And the 30 for 30 I was talking about was called the Marinovich Project. But, I don't know, man. I never had anyone in my family push me like this as far as sports or anything else. And, I mean, all you can do is hope for the best for the kid. And I hope that this asshole mentality that his dad has didn't rub off on him, because I can't imagine his dad is making any friends in the NBA with his fucking big mouth for his kid, because it's not his dad that's going to have to be in the locker rooms dealing with these players. It's going to be his son, and he's fucking whipping his dick out and pissing all over a whole lot of fucking pro basketball players' feet with his fucking mouth before his son's ever stepped 1 foot in a fucking NBA locker room.
Yeah, if I were him, I'd get his kids to be like, Dad, shut the fuck up. Like, what you just said, I'm the one that's going to have to work with all these guys. I'm the one that's going to have to talk to all these organizations. And too, Rich, I'm kind of with you in, like, I'm going to enact the rubber band theory on this one, all right? You stretch a rubber band so far, eventually it snaps back. And, yeah, I'm kind of partial to the theory. As soon as these kids get their own money, they're going to tell their old man to fuck off. I don't know. Stop it. Generation X parents, knock it off. Stop.
Yeah, this you can't lay at the feet of any fucking millennial, no matter how hard you try.
No, we built them. Our age group has built these fucking dipshits.
Yeah. So.
And it's parents like this fool, which is why. These kids are going to sit there and think they're. He apparently is the only one who thinks they're going to be better than Jordan and better than LeBron James, because until this fool started popping his mouth off, I never heard of his fucking kids. I heard of LeBron James by the time he was about to be drafted. I heard of Kobe Bryant by the time it was draft time.
Yep. I heard about them in high school. And I'm talking before their senior year.
I ain't heard about these kids till their loudmouth dad got in the media. So slowly roll, pops.
Well, I mean, what do you think is going to happen, Earl? This is the story you said we needed to read up on. I mean, you think that the players in the locker room are going to be very welcoming to?
Well, I don't know. I think he has a lot to prove to everybody, meaning he being Lonzo Ball. If he doesn't, live up to the hype, then I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Mateen Cleaves a little bit. You guys remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be this big shit coming out of Michigan State, and got to Detroit Pistons and was like, no. And then just faded off, And I don't know, being in the pros, I've never been in the pros, but I have to think it's a, sink or swim mentality. I don't care if you have your sister bitching that you need to get out of Detroit, or your dad building you up to be the best player ever to walk the planet. If you come in and produce, I don't think your teammates give a shit who says what about you. You know what I mean?
I think Mateen Cleaves' performance in the 2000 championship game is what got him drafted. Because he really wasn't. He was just the average player that whole year. And I mean, with college, with college and pro, with college. One more time, guys. With college basketball, pro basketball, it's the same thing kind of as football. Sometimes you'd be great in college, go to the pros, and you suck. Just your style of play just isn't going to make it in the pros. And I think that's what happened with Team Cleves, really. You know, he was an average college basketball player who had a above average postseason.
I'm just look. He still has to get the ball passed to him to produce. And if his dad if he gets drafted by a team and his dad talks just nonstop shit, and does what he did with his college team, then he could get that locker room to the point where they're like, fuck this motherfucker. He'll get a pass when absolutely everyone else we've already tried to pass to, and they've already fucking, got a steal or two from us. I mean, they could freeze him out of the game real easy. I would think that they're professionals and that's not going to happen. But I mean, let's be honest, it probably has happened. It has happened on teams. Ultimately, they're professionals, but they're also people first and foremost before anything else. And people can be some petty motherfuckers, man. So I don't know his kid's attitude, and this tells you all you need to know. I haven't heard his kid fucking talk, but like just normal fucking interview bullshit, just safe pat answers. But I've heard his dad spout off at the fucking cockholster all fucking last 2 weeks. So that tells you all you need to know right there. But I mean, if his kid is a respectful, humble, appreciative of where he's at kid, and he goes into the NBA like that, and he lives up to half the hype, I hope for his sake that he can like put some space between him and his dad. I hate to say it, but you got two younger brothers. Let him try to make one of those his mini me, because people like this, if you're going to talk all that shit, you got to back it up. You have to back it up. And I mean, his dad strikes me as the type that was talking big shit all his life, and all he ever did was, end up on a fucking practice squad for an NFL team. That's it. All right, you really need to shut up, dude. You didn't even do anything in your sports life. You're basically one step above Rudy. Congratulations, asshole. They used you as a tackling dummy.
Yeah, can't argue with you there, Rich.
No, but that's like I'm saying, man. I think in the pros, it's a sink or swim mentality. If Lonzo and his brothers go in there and gets the job done, his dad could say whatever the fuck he wants. I don't think this era of sports, even with as much as it's changed or whatnot, is that far removed from that aspect. If you go there and you do your job, then who cares what anybody says?
What I'm getting at is that if his dad has created such fucking a toxic fucking environment around this kid, his teammates may not give him the chance to fucking pull his weight.
He may not get drafted.
Oh, he's going to get drafted. Someone will take a chance on him. I have to believe that.
And if it isn't in the first round, are we going to hear this fool just talk shit?
Oh, I'm pretty sure if he doesn't go in the top 3, you're going to hear this fool talk shit.
Yeah, Lonzo's projected in the top 4.
But I ain't heard this motherfucker's name before this week. How was it? All right. We'll see, I guess.
Hey, man, the hype train. Choo-choo, motherfucker, it's coming through.
Yeah, I know who this guy was before this week. And he's a top 4 pick. All righty. So, I mean, have we said all we said all we needed to say about this guy?
I am going to go on a small rant. It's not it's LaVar Ball's gone. But the show he was on recently, a couple of times, is a show that I want to address, that I have addressed. I've taken Rich's advice to it. It was First Take. Now, I've said a few things about Stephen A. Smith, and I've tweeted some things about Stephen A. Smith, and I'm going to say it like this. I'm a half-ass sports fan on a half-ass talk show podcast. I will call a spade a spade. I will say when there's racial undertones or when there's sexism or when there's bias for whatever reason. But you will never hear me have my bottom line answer always be one thing. And you'll never hear me ever, without huge factual information, call something racist. If you want to know why racism plays such a huge part in this country, and especially in the sports world, it is because of people like Stephen A. Smith. I have been sickened by watching his show up to the point that I have stopped watching his show. I have tweeted over and over to remove that man from that show. We can argue till the cows come home about what's racist and what's not. Hiring John Lynch without experience. Hiring Magic Johnson with no office experience. All you want. But when you say that the NFL made a training video on how to celebrate touchdowns and how to celebrate period in the NFL is only a way for them to control the black man, my man, you are a racist. Okay? There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Earl,
because
is that
there's
your first day watching Stephen A. Smith?
No. There is as much whites as there are blacks.
How are you surprised by that? That's what he does. He does it like once a week. Something's racist. Like at this point, I think he's paid to. He's the only one that's. Rich and I were talking before you jumped on the line. He seems to be the only one that's allowed to have any opinion anymore at ESPN.
No. I got that. But his default answer is racism.
Yeah, it's been his bread and butter. Like, I guess I just don't see how you're so offended and you're never going to watch him. He does it every week.
That's why I'm not going to watch him.
To me, it's at this point, pardon the pun, it's white noise. Like, okay, Stephen Smith has got his he's been out of shape again about something that's racist that isn't. Like, whatever. That's what the man's paid to do, though, too. He's paid for polarizing opinions. He's not paid to sit on there and go, hey, everything's great. I love everything. I mean, that's what they pay him to do. I'm not saying I agree with everything the man says, but I mean, he is paid. He is like a professional flame fanner, so to speak. That is why he is on their payroll. I guess I just don't see how you're so offended, Earl. I mean, he does it every week.
You, Chris, you always say I make great leaps. How do I make that leap? I mean, just like here when I was talking about the kid suicide, you're like, it's quite a leap. All right, he's making leaps and bounds to racism that I didn't even think could ever be gotten to.
But that's what he does. Like I'm trying to figure out how you're all of a sudden so offended. Like it's not like he's all of a sudden like. He was Mr. Nicey Nice, and in the last 2 weeks, he's Malcolm X. Dude, this is what he does. I mean, girl, I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm not trying to persecute you here. I'm just, like, you're being super offended by something that the man has made his money on doing. I guess, it's your opinion, I guess, dude.
I didn't think he was that far into it, but I mean, obviously I haven't watched him long enough.
Well, the whole using the tape the NFL made on celebrations, the whole using that and saying that's racist. That's not the first time there's been a tape that comes out from a governing.
Was he crying racism at the Chris Carter thing?
It's not the first time a tape like that's come out from a governing body in football that tells you and shows examples of what you can and can't do as far as celebrating. In the 80s, they did it because of, Miami, the hurricanes, and there was cries of racism then too. All right. This is nothing new. This is an old bit. They pulled it off the shelf. They blew the dust off. And they're getting exactly what they want with it. And Earl, I don't wonder why you're upset by it. But I'm just too cynical to get upset by it because they're doing this cynically. They're doing this for one reason, to piss people like you off so you'll talk about it. So it becomes a story. Because they can't keep people's interest with just talking about sports anymore. So they have to become the story. All right. It was called gonzo journalism when Hunter S. Thompson did it. He's dead. There's only one fucking Gonzo. The rest of them are all sad imitations of that motherfucker. And Stephen A. Smith trying to insert himself in the stories like he's doing is nothing new in the sports world. Mitch Albom does it. Rob Parker used to do it. And it's pathetic when whoever does it. The fact that he's trying to fucking cash in on a very heated racial element going on in this country at the moment, to me, says that he has no shame. That he's just going to exploit whatever he can to get people to talk about him, to get the ratings he wants. And here's the thing. ESPN's going to keep putting him on the air as long as because let's be honest here, he's not going to come out in defense of anything that could be even remotely considered a conservative view. He's not going to do that. That's not what he's paid for by ESPN. It's not what Disney, who owns ESPN, that's not their agenda that they push, all right? So as long as he does, and he dances like a good, hey, dance puppet, as long as he does that, and he stays within his wheelhouse, and he doesn't put color outside of the lines as far as the agenda and the narrative that he's being told he's to present, he's got a place to stay, and he's got a paycheck.
Okay, and that's fine, and let him collect it. I'm going to watch his former partner and the other black guy on another network. That's all I'm saying.
What, Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless?
Yep.
And, dude, I mean, hey, as far as I'm concerned, you're doing everything you got the right to do. Right? Twitter is the home of fake outrage. All right? And I think it's time that people who are tired of, someone does something and 10 people on Twitter start a hashtag about it and they get all upset, and then the news reports that the people on Twitter, who's these people? This isn't even fucking hundreds of people. It's maybe at most dozens. So you know what? Give them a taste of their own medicine. Hey, more power to you, man. Do your thing. I ain't mad at you. Because fuck it. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And it's getting real tiresome of all this fake outrage being manufactured on Twitter. And anytime anyone fucking says anything, everything being fucking looked through the prism of race and gender and homophobia and Republican and Democrat, and it's gotten old. So give it back to them in spades, man. Let them chew on some of their own fucking. They've been shoving that shit sandwich down our throat. Take a bite, motherfuckers. Knock yourself out, dude.
But see, I mean, and Chris, the answer to your question is why I'm so appalled now is because some things I could see. All right, I could see where John Lynch, white, all right. And some of the things he sees, I can get there. But he is so far out there, so far, that I can't even. I mean, he's saying that Colin Kaepernick isn't signed because all white billionaires are the only people that own NFL teams. And that's the only reason that motherfucker's not signed.
Can I point out something real quick about Colin Kaepernick that gets lost in the shuffle here? He opted out of his contract. He was not cut from the 49ers. Okay, and I have watched and listened to enough.
He peaced out. He left. Okay,
I have watched and listened to enough sports talking heads and sports talk radio to hear people call in, to see people who are paid professionals to talk about sports, which means they should get their facts right, say things like he's been cut. He was never cut. He opted out of his contract. Okay. He could have stayed in San Francisco. There's at least one owner who is willing to keep paying his ass. He said, no, thank you. He wants $9 to $10 million a year, and he wants to start. That's his criteria to sign. He is not holding the cards in this fucking case, yet he's trying to dictate the terms. Okay, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. These are facts that are overlooked in this story. The people just fucking sweep under the rug because they want to fucking say racism because it gets people on both sides riled up. The facts are he has no ground. He has no fucking higher ground to bargain from, yet he's trying to. He's put himself in this position, and really, we've gone over it. He's a one-dimensional quarterback that you can't have as a backup just to plug and play. And Joe Thomas said it best. If you're going to be a backup in the NFL, you provide 0 distractions. If you provide 1 distraction, that is 1 too many for a backup quarterback. Collect your check, hold your clipboard, shut the fuck up and sit on the bench until we need you. That's your job as a backup quarterback in the NFL.
I thought we were talking about Colin Kaepernick, not Tony Romo. Oh.
But all these facts, no, we sweep them under the rug. Because like you said, man, Stephen A. Smith, he's going to get off on some racial shit. Why? Because it's going to get viewers. Go back and watch the movie Private Parts with Howard Stern. Average person listens to the radio 15 minutes at a time. Average Howard Stern listener, 45 minutes. Average person who hates Howard Stern, hour and a half. Answer given from both groups of people, I want to see what he says next. People in the media learn their lesson from that. All right? That was Howard Stern's shtick in the early 80s. It still works in the late 2010s. Nothing new is going on here. It's just Stephen A. Smith is putting a little tiny bit of a new spin on it because he knows, hey, look, I can get up and say racism, and I'm immune from criticism in some people's eyes because if you criticize me, that makes you racist. And this ain't the show. I'm not out here calling him out his name. I'm not calling him any racial slur. I'm saying he's a fucking hypocrite. I agree with you on that one. And on top of that, I don't even think he's really a hypocrite because to be a hypocrite, you have to really believe the shit you're talking. What's worse is I think he's a fucking charlatan. He's the Jim Baker of ESPN. He's willing to sell you fucking holy water and put his hands on you and heal you if the price is right. Price is right. He'll say whatever the fuck the people at the top tell him to fucking say. He don't believe none of this shit. I truly don't believe that. And to back that up, there's been people on sports talk radio in Detroit who've known guys who Rob Parker was our local version of Stephen A. Smith, and he went to ESPN and he went hard. He went harder than Stephen Smith to the point where it cost him his job. All right. People in the sports talk industry here in Detroit said there's 2 Rob Parkers. There's the Rob Parker that's on the air whose job is to get ratings, and there's the Rob Parker off the air who's a sensible, intelligent, knowledgeable sports fan, journalist, human being. And I truly believe that about Stephen A. Smith. The problem is he presents himself as he is being genuine. Well, I don't buy it. Sorry. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, right? And I stating it again, dude. I agree with you. He's just throw out the word racism and boom, you're guaranteed to have a hot button topic. You're guaranteed to have a clip on social media, a 40-second soundbite clip to throw out there to get people commenting on it and get clicks for your website.
Well,
that's all
not
this is about.
Person. He's completely turned me off, and that sucks because Max Kellerman's a hell of a guy, has great opinions and great explanations, and they have great, show guests as well. But I won't be watching that show anymore.
And hey, and if he does it enough, guys like you take a stance like that, he won't get to be on ESPN anymore. But I'm kind of with Rich, man. This is what he does. I don't pay attention to him. It's, it means nothing to me. Like it's kind of like the thing of he's cried wolf so many times, I don't believe him. Yeah, okay, Stephen A. Smith, it's racist, whatever. Like that's kind of where I'm at whenever I hear him go off anymore, really.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, everything to that man is racist. I mean, everything. He got a higher percentage rate on his car because he's black. Not because of his credit score, not because of how much down payment or how little down payment, but just because he's black. I just can't anymore. At first I was kind of like, all right. It's kind of funny that you can get there, but okay. And now it's just like, all right, man, stop. Fuck.
Earl, are you? Did he seriously say that shit on air about his car? Or
no,
are you just being a smart ass?
That man is that way.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
I was gonna say if he went off on his car notes fucking interest rate, Jesus Christ. ESPN's gotten worse than I thought.
No, every big topic, every single big topic, it's because it's racism. That's why. Like the story I want to talk about NBA players resting. It's only a big problem because LeBron is resting because the black man's taking time off. He said that on air. Like, you're out of your fucking mind. It became a big story when a white man sat his entire bench. But yet you're claiming that it's because of LeBron James, a black man, is what he said. No, dude. Now you're just distorting the facts to get your message out. Now I can't even begin to watch you anymore.
If he legit said that is, yeah. I mean, that is... He's got a whole fishing boat sitting that he's just throwing hooks with bait on out of ESPN studios. I mean that's like on par with, like, 4chan trolling. Seriously, that's not even witty trolling. That's just saying, like, you see someone post on Facebook, you see they're a black person in their profile picture, and you throw out a racial slur. That's not witty. It's not intelligent. It's not ironic. It's not edgy. It's just you being an asshole. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, man. How many fucking... In every sport, they have sat players before. This is nothing new. This isn't the first time this has fucking happened. This isn't even the first time an entire fucking starting lineup has sat. All right? So, for him to even come off with that shit, yeah, he's on some other shit, man. That motherfucker... Seriously, wow. Okay, I'm done.
Right, right. And that's my whole small rant on him was I'm done. I can't even. I'll watch your former co-host, because whether I agree with him or not, it's not going to be the same song and dance every fucking time. And messing up, the facts of the story to get you there. It's kind of a shtick. It's kind of a funny thing with me and New England and, the tinfoil hat. Did they throw the game, didn't they, and all that? And at the end of every football conversation we have, I got to say something about Bill Belichick and the Patriots. That's kind of like he is with racism.
Yeah, but there's a difference, dude. That's a bit, and we acknowledge that. I mean, and if you have a genuine opinion about Bill Belichick, Patriots, Tom Brady, you let it be known, okay? But, I mean, there's a lot of times when the subject of that shit comes up and our tongue is firmly in our cheek. I don't think his tongue is anywhere near the inside of his cheek on any of this shit. Okay, and that's what makes it, that's what makes it, and I'm going to walk up to the edge and not say dangerous, but that's what gives it the possibility of being dangerous. Because you're walking up to the edge of inciting people and pissing people off. And why? Ultimately for ratings. That's it. Because that's the bottom line with television. That's the bottom line in media, period. Never let anybody listening to us who thinks that that's not true, you are fooling yourself. Okay? There is no one on the air that's not on maybe public access. Maybe that. That's the only place they don't give a fuck about ratings. But everybody else, there is no one on air out of the kindness of anybody's heart. It's you're here because we think you can either A, sell product, B, draw enough people in to look at the advertising that our advertisers are paying for, or C, push an agenda. That's all there is to it. There is no altruistic reason why they're on the air.
Yeah, but the problem with Stephen A. Smith pushing that agenda, dude, is that there are a lot of people that will take that and run.
That's what I said. I'm not going to say that it's dangerous that he goes off and he says shit like that, but he is flirting with basically, taking a pissed off crowd and handing out fucking pitchforks and torches and going, "Hey, we know where they're keeping them, don't we? We know where Frankenstein's monster's at, don't we? Let's get the villagers together here." I mean, come on, man. Seriously? To take a team resting players and try to put a racial spin on it? I mean, if he did that, serious, and there's been no backlash. There's been none that I've seen in the sports media online whatsoever. I don't know. That's amazing to me. I mean, I'm putting on my tinfoil hat. Does ESPN have the ability to scrub the internet of shit it doesn't like? I mean, people say it's impossible to do
Disney
that.
Disney owns them. You never know.
That's what I'm saying. People say it's impossible to do that, but it has been known to happen. Prince did a goddamn good job of scrubbing the internet of everything he didn't want on there when he was still alive.
Find a Prince song online, just one.
Well, you can now because his estate has sorted him out. He's on Google Music. Found that out the other day. But no, before he died, as someone who produces 3 podcasts, it was a motherfucker trying to find a Prince song before he died.
Literally, the day he died. The day he died is when I could type in Prince on YouTube and not see some cell phone camera video with shitty sound quality and video quality. And, you know, it had like 3 hits. You had to dig through the fucking results that you got back, you know.
Metallica couldn't even do it. Prince did it. Come on now.
Well, I can't. The fact that there's been no discussion of him saying shit like that and no blowback because of it, that tells you right there that sports media is firmly in the pocket of the quote-unquote liberal media. I can't even make an argument against that. And I lean way farther to the left than most people on this podcast. And I would guess either of you on most issues. Yet this is fucking insanity. Because it's getting to the point where you don't hear 2 sides of any story. You hear one side and you're told that's how you have to think. And if you don't think that way, then you're this ist or you're this phobe. And you're labeled and you're marginalized and you're told to go sit down and shut up. Your opinion doesn't matter anymore. And that's scary because that is dealing in absolutes, and that is taking sports, which we've talked about as entertainment ultimately, interjecting politics into it and indoctrinating the youth who are watching this in that way of thinking. That's a scary fucking thought.
Hitting the nail on the head there, man. Like, that's what we said on several other podcasts, on this podcast before. We are in new scary times, and yeah. It just, I don't want to tread over any carpet we've already worn down to a hole in the floor.
Well, I can interrupt with this breaking news from ESPN. NHL alert that says Red Wings are officially eliminated from playoff contention. First time in 25 years.
Hey, ESPN, we already knew that. We knew a month ago.
Right.
ESPN's telling us Clay Aiken's gay. Hey, no, we already know. Thanks.
And in further breaking news from ESPN, water is wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. And I mean, every Detroit
water is not
Red
wet
Wings
according to Stephen A. Smith because it's black ice.
Snow is racist. Look at all this snow. Look at all this white snow. It's racist. No, that's
no, Stephen A. Smith. It's not racist. There's black snow. It's called ash. Ask the Jews. Oh, I mean
the Red Wings. Any Red Wings fan who went into this season very confident that they were going to make the playoffs is just a homer, and they were chugging that fucking homer Kool-Aid and lathering up in that homer butter. That's all there is to it. I mean.
Okay.
I called it before the season even started that I was like, this is the year they don't make the playoffs. They just don't. They don't have the players. They don't have the coaching. It's just not there, man. I mean, once I saw their off season and the moves that they couldn't make going into the season, I was like, oof. Yeah, it's been a good run, but it's over with. And I mean, I'm not that upset about it. How can you be upset with a 25-year run, 4 cups in that time period? I mean, how many Hall of Famers did you get to watch in their prime play in here? You know, how many great memories did you get out of that 25 years?
To bring back a saying from the mid-'90s, I ain't mad at you.
Yeah, how can you?
I was literally about to say the same thing, Earl.
But I'll tell you what. I have seen people on message boards and social media who are pissed about it, and they're like, "Well, God damn it, blah blah blah. We're excellence. We're supposed to be excellent all the time." And I'm like, "What are you, Bill and Ted? First of all, stop that shit. Second of all, nothing lasts forever, man. Okay, everything has a beginning. Everything has an end. All right, it's all there is to it."
What are you, the Matrix?
Well, the person who doesn't die can come back and fucking argue with me about that fact. Then, how about that? All right. Things start, they have a lifespan, they end. Okay? And 25 years is longer than I think anyone was giving them who remembers them back in the early 80s. And anyone who goes back even further remembers the 70s when they were the dead things. No one probably thought that a 25-year playoff streak was in the cards for them at any point in the rest of the history of that franchise. So, but since we're on hockey,
you're right. Everything that comes to an end. All the great dynasties come to an end.
Since we're on hockey, Jesus Christ! Like I told you guys, I've never seen. Okay, Crosby this week. After we got done recording last episode, later that night, Crosby decided to spear a guy in his crotch. A few days after that, he slashed the guy so hard he amputated part of his finger. Not only is there no retribution from the league, but there's not even any from players. I've never, in the history of 40 years of watching hockey and watching a lot of classic games, reading about the history of the game, have ever seen a player with the carte blanche to go around and do what he does and never is held responsible for anything he does. I've never seen this. And I don't care how much of a homer you are. I don't care how much you try to explain it away with saying every game there's slashes. How many players get suspended for slashing? Okay, you might have been able to use that argument in the 80s, and I'd have let you get away with it. This is 2017. This is the era. We have had the instigator rule, the third man in when the fights break out rule, for decades now. You don't get to hide behind this is a fucking violent sport. It's not the 70s. This is not Slapshot. You don't get away with this shit anymore, yet he does. And this is just another reason that I was on the fence about re-upping my cable for the playoffs. I will be reading and following the playoffs online. I'll be damned if I'm going to pay any money to any cable company to watch this shit show, because this is fucking ridiculous. This is the NHL should be ashamed of itself. It is clearly has and we're not talking Jordan rules to where you can't foul him. We're talking he's allowed to amputate another player's finger with impunity, to spear another guy up under his cup in his groin with impunity. And the only thing that gets talked about any of it is I see articles and sound bites online of people from ESPN and Fox Sports coming out and defending him and saying he shouldn't be suspended. Meanwhile, you get a guy who gets charged, ran face first into the boards, turns around, socks the guy that did it. He's on suspension. There's a reason if you fucking run someone into the boards that you can get the gate, because you could kill somebody that way. All right. And the last time I heard, if you turn around, drop your gloves and sock a guy, yeah, you might get the instigator penalty. You might get the game. You might get the gate for the game, but a suspension for that? You can use your fucking stick as a weapon twice in a week and have people fucking sit there and stand up and stomp their feet and light a match and defend you? Fuck the NHL and fuck Sidney Crosby.
Wow, Earl's not watching ESPN. You're not going to watch the NHL. It's boycott week. Damn.
What are you giving up for it now, Chris?
No, I already don't pay attention to half the damn sports anyway. I stopped watching SportsCenter when we started doing this podcast because I realized it was fucking useless except for 11 o'clock. Does that count?
And it really is true. You can pretty much get better, more in-depth coverage online. And if you really have to have that person talking to you, I mean, you can watch highlights without the commentary, but if you really have to have that commentary to run along with the highlights, you can find it online. It's not through ESPN. It's not through Fox Sports, right? There are at least the national Fox Sports. You can watch local Fox Sports from the market that you're watching the highlights from. There's other places to find this. And I'm sorry, I've never, this ain't a boycott. I'm not calling for a boycott of the NHL. I'm just saying I'm not supporting this shit. I'm not doing it. This is ridiculous. This is someone who it's going to take him ending someone's career and someone damn near killing him to where it carries over from off the ice into a courtroom, like what happened with Bertuzzi, like what happened with McSorley and Brashear. It's going to take that type of a situation for the NHL to do something about it. And I guarantee you, typical to the NHL, they will overcorrect the situation, water down the game further, and encourage this type of cheap shotting and bullshit artistry from these fucking hacks that are out there who know that they're completely protected by the refs, by the front office, and by the league office in Toronto, because you can't even as a player make someone who does that to your teammate answer for that anymore. I want you to think about this. We just passed the 20-year anniversary of the Red Wings and Avalanche brawl at the Joe Louis Arena. That entire team would have been, or everybody on the ice would have been suspended in today's game. Everybody.
I don't think half Lemieux and Riccardi might not even be playing anymore.
Yeah.
They might be suspended.
The only reason Lemieux would still have a career is because he turtled and he didn't fight back. Waugh would have a career because he's arguably the greatest goalie the NHL has ever produced or ever seen. So they're not going to cut his career short. But the rest of that season, if the NHL was as serious about shit as they claim they are, and that shit happened today in today's climate, players would not only be suspended for the rest of the season's games, but for playoff games. That would have changed the course of history right there. You would have had the Red Wings and the Avalanche going into their first round series without their starting goaltenders. No Shanahan, no Deadmarsh, no McCarty, no Draper. I mean, core guys to these teams. No, see ya. You're going to have to sit. All right? And I don't know. I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that when I saw him spear a guy in the crotch from behind and heard people defending him. I was like, okay, that's it. That's it. We can't get any more stupid than this. This is. There's no more level of Homer faggotry than where we're at right now. And then I saw him amputate the tip of the guy's hand with a slash. And then I saw it get even worse than what it was. And I can't even defend it. I can't, gun to my head, if I was on a debate team, I couldn't argue from the side of defending Crosby because I don't see any way to defend him. Besides, he's on my team and he's my favorite player, so he can do no wrong. I don't.
Well, let's be honest, Rich. The guy shouldn't have been standing in front of him. And what was the guy thinking holding his stick? Come on.
Yeah, I know. He shouldn't have been wearing that dress, and he shouldn't have been drunk, and he shouldn't have been walking alone in that neighborhood. He was asking for it. I got you.
That goes to I just tripped and fell into the pussy. That happens.
Yep, nothing's ever his fault. Everything happens to him. And the beauty of this is for all his shit, he still isn't at the top of the fucking heap of scoring this season. Connor McDavid's got him by 6 points, and is the NHL...
Isn't there another guy named Austin?
Oh, he's on the Leafs. Austin Matthews, Austin Matthews got 34 goals. Crosby has 42. Okay. Crosby, think about that. Crosby has 42 goals, 82 points altogether. Connor McDavid has 88 points, 62 assists. Now, what type of player does Connor McDavid sound like? Sound like a player who's a team player, who passes, gets the puck spread around, creates plays for the other people on his line. He's such a good player, he makes other players around him better. Crosby, he's got way more goals than assists. Sounds like he's fucking a puck hog. But it'll never be portrayed as that. I mean, these are things that you just that get overlooked. And I don't know if it's because of metrics in sports anymore, or people just don't want to look at the cold hard numbers and see the facts. That's the reason that plus minus is kept and assists are kept. There was a reason for those fucking stats being there, right? And he's not in the top 10 in plus minus. He's not in the top 10 in assists. I mean, he scores goals and he takes cheap shots. And that's your leader? That's the face of the NHL? I don't know. You know, all I can hope is that the young guys coming up, like you mentioned, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, you know, guys like Tarasenko, Kane. Well, Patrick Kane, he's got a lot of off-ice baggage. There's no way they would ever make him fucking face of the NHL. Alex Ovechkin, you know, sadly, he's a European-born player. If he was a Canadian-born player, the argument would be, when is Crosby going to be as good as Ovechkin? And how Crosby's not an all-around as good player as Ovechkin. But because he's a European-born player, and there's such a bias towards North American players, especially players from Canada, Crosby gets all the attention. But like I was saying, Tarasenko's not gonna get the attention, you know. But guys like Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, young guys coming up, maybe they can. And I mean, so far, stats seem to me to say that Connor McDavid's doing a hell of a lot more in his rookie year than Crosby did in his rookie year. And Crosby was also skating alongside Mario Lemieux in his rookie year. Let's not forget that. So
he played that long? No, he had to coach, right? Lemieux?
No, he came out of retirement. He
played in 2008.
No, Crosby's first season was 2005-2006 season. He came out of retirement. Right. He came out of retirement to play with him that season and put him up in his own home. So he was taken completely under Lemieux's wing. There's no excuse for Crosby to be the player he is, except for he's just a bitch-made motherfucker. Lemieux was not okay. You can call him. I mean, Lemieux was a lot of the reason that the rule changes happened in the mid-'90s and then again in the mid-2000s. Because he would bitch about the clutching and grabbing and the trap, you know, defense. But ultimately, Mario Lemieux was not a bitch-made motherfucker. I never remember that being labeled against him on a regular basis from every team in the league that he wasn't on. The only people I see defending Sidney Crosby are Pittsburgh fans or Sidney Crosby fans, and people in the sports media who, let's be honest, if they had to tell you who was leading the league in save percentage or goals against average, they couldn't even pronounce the guy's last name. And that's Sergei Bobrovsky, by the way. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a joke, and it's just really pathetic. I can't believe how low the fucking NHL is sunk, and yeah, it's not going to get any better as long as fans keep going out and seeing this fucking shitty product that's being put out. And these special set-aside rules for a single player in the entire league to get away with shit.
Every league has one, Rich.
And I accept that as far as he's going to get the calls. They're going to turn a blind eye towards his diving and shit like that. When he's out there doing stuff that is permanently injuring people, and he's not even being held accountable on the ice by other players, I have an issue with that. And you can't tell me if he was skating around and was doing shit like this in the 80s, that guys like Grimson and Kosar, okay, guys like Parker, Tony Twist wouldn't have fucking beat the shit out of this motherfucker. I mean, beat him so bad his asshole would be sucking fucking buttermilk. Like the fucking punk-ass bitch he is. But he gets away with it because, well, this is Bettman's NHL. This is basketball on ice, folks. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, it is. Yeah, it definitely is that, because NBA has LeBron James, the NFL has Tom Brady, and for a long time, Major League had Barry Bonds. Every league has one.
Is there a new one in the majors? Has someone replaced Barry Bonds yet?
Mike Trout.
But Mike, I was going to say Trout.
Mike Trout really has he done anything to be an asshole?
I think more Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper in the last 2 seasons hasn't he been a giant asshole?
Yeah, but he gets called on it. I mean, like in the media. See, really honestly. That's the only thing that's going to change this type of shit in sports is if the media starts pointing this out every single time it happens, because so many people get their opinion by listening to people who are handed a script to talk to them through the TV and tell them their opinion. They don't form their opinion based on their own knowledge of sports. They watch ESPN, they watch Fox Sports, and they go, oh, that's how I'm supposed to think. And because ESPN and Fox Sports are pointing this out, and I'm not just talking about in the NHL, I'm talking about in all sports, that there is a set of rules for superstars and a set of rules for the rest of the league. You know, there is a set of rules for certain players, and then there's a set of rules for the superstars. And then there's ultimately the king on top of the fucking shit pile who gets away with murder, and then there's everybody else underneath them. As long as they don't point that out, the average, you know, sports fan, like I said, who gets their opinion from these talking heads, they're not going to give a fuck. They're just going to parrot what they hear on ESPN and go, hey, I'm such an original thinker. I'm thinking outside of the box. Why? Because ESPN told me to.
Yeah, pretty much. Whether it's ESPN or MSNBC or CNN, that kind of attitude's pretty prevalent in everything nowadays. Here are my talking points. This is what I will talk about. That is it. This is my opinion. Heaven forbid we get information from several sources and form our own opinion. But again, we're straying into a different podcast.
Well, you know, and it's just like the women's national hockey team. All right, we touched on it on another episode, and I went and I did some digging, and I went digging beyond just the, as Chris, as you so aptly called them, the talking points that people on both sides have been just parroting at each other online and through various forms of media for the last couple of weeks. And I went and I looked at the hard facts and numbers of the situation. Here's the deal. There is a female hockey league, the National Women's Hockey League. There are 4 teams in the National Women's Hockey League. Okay? Why is that important? Because a lot of the young players on the men's national hockey team have already been drafted and have signed contracts with teams in the NHL. That's where they make most of their money. Okay? They get paid the lion's share of what they get paid comes from their contracts with their teams, or if they're in the ECH, you know, East Coast Hockey League, American Hockey League, Ontario Hockey League, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, then they get what they get from the U.S. national team, which is $1,000 a month for six months every 4 years. Now here's where it gets dicey. They fly business. And they can bring one person. They have a +1, basically, that they can bring with them. And that U.S. men's hockey team puts up and pays for them to do all that. The women's hockey team has to fly a coach, and they have to share fucking rooms with each other. Now, the argument that I had seen put out was, well, look at the draw. Does the women's team draw as much as the men's team? Because if they don't, then pay them according to what they draw. The argument against that is, well, it's a nonprofit organization. This is from the American Olympic Committee. The job is to prepare all our teams to compete for the gold, regardless of what they draw. But let's be honest, it's a business. Bottom line is, somebody's getting paid, somebody's collecting money at those gates. And somebody knows that the women's hockey team isn't making as much money as the men's hockey team when they play a game. And that's a deciding factor in a lot of how they are paid. Now, the women want $68,000 a year, plus benefits, plus time off if they have a family. The reason that people are bristling at that is because who's going to pay for that? Where's that money going to come from? That money is not going to come from the money that's generated by the women's U.S. hockey team. That money's going to have to come from someplace else. It's generated by another sport or a men's version of that sport. And on top of that, the men don't even make that much money. Now, if you want to give them the same training facilities, give them the same travel stipend, give them the same per diem, give them the same, set the bar the same as far as people they can bring with them, and that the U.S. national team will pay for, I'm all for that. But to give them $68,000 a year each player, because they say, well, that way they don't have to have a normal job, they can just train for hockey. These hockey players that are playing for the men's national team, they have other jobs. It's just They have jobs playing for leagues that actually draw people and put asses in the seats. The National Women's Hockey League just had their championship game. They didn't even draw over 500 people. All right? Come on now. But see, that's not the way this story has been presented. And the fact that Earl brought it up last week and the way he brought it up tells me that's not the way it's presented, because I guarantee you they didn't say any of these facts when Earl was fucking listening to this story being told to him on TV. I guarantee you they didn't get into the hard numbers of the situation. See, this is how come when shit comes up like that, I kept my mouth shut and I just said on the surface, this is how it looks. Then I went home and I did my fucking homework on my own, and I see the numbers of the situation and it doesn't pan out. But here's the deal. You have players from the national women's team boycotting. You have threats from certain players from the men's national team that they're going to boycott. It's the cause du jour at the moment, so they caved. To what extent they caved, I don't know. I haven't been able to look into that. I just saw that they caved to the demands a couple hours before we went on the air. And a couple of hours of rooting around online I did is not enough for me to get on here with any authority and say I can tell you what's going on. But I can tell you that the whole reason that this was the whole reason this was brought up is it was portrayed as this is gender inequality. And really, let's be honest here, this was, you don't make as much money for us as the men's team does. You want to talk about gender inequality? Let's go back to when the women's soccer team was making less to play games than the men's soccer team. And the women's soccer team far outdrew and brought in way more money for the U.S. Olympic Committee than the men's team did. Yeah, that was gender inequality. That was some bullshit. That was some old white men going, we're going to pay these women, these girls less than the men's team. I can't buy that that's what's going on with the women's hockey team. Women's hockey is such a niche sport. I mean, it is. When you can't draw over 500 people to a championship, that is a problem. There are high school championships locally here in Michigan that draw more people than that. Go to a Catholic Central game. I mean, come on. Cass Tech basketball draws more than that. So, once again, everybody listening, just remember, you're being told what to think and how to think. And you better be in lockstep with it, because if you don't, you're a sexist and a racist and a homophobe. Because fuck the facts. You go back to bed. To quote Bill Hicks, go back to bed, America. Instead of the government, the media has it all figured out for you.
Yeah, just like you're fucking told to care about the NCAA women's tournament this time of year. No, I was at a bar on Saturday eating lunch, and they had the games on. Those arenas were the UConn game was empty. UConn was on like 101 game fucking win streak as far as the women's team go. That arena was fucking empty. Like, I get it, equality, all that stuff, but Rich, it's a business, supply and demand. All right.
Yeah, but when you know who's going to win, it's not worth going to watch. If anybody but the UConn women win that championship, then it'll be a story.
Yeah, and it'll be unless that game is a blowout against UConn, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of people who are going to say, I watched that game that really didn't. It's going to be it's going to be like the Malice at the Palace. You know how many people said that they were there when that shit broke out between the Pacers and the Pistons? If as many people that have told me personally, and I've heard claim were actually there, they would have been able to fill the big house with as many people, that many people. And there's no way the Palace seats 100,000, 110,000 people. So, I mean, you're right. And hey, look. The UConn's women team is putting up amazing numbers. I mean, that is a stupid streak. That is a streak that male, female, it's amazing. All right. But there's just not an audience for it like there is men's basketball. And why we have to pretend there is, I'll never understand. I mean, that's the thing. If I was on that team, I would be insulted. Don't act like we have the audience that the men's fucking basketball team has. All right? Because what you're doing is instead of actually going, hey, look at this, you might want to witness history in the making, you're saying, well, they're just as valid as the men are, so you can go ahead and keep on not giving a fuck. No, hype it up. Let's get some more asses in the seats. But that's not the way the world works at this moment in time. So,
or possibly ever again. But jury's still out on that one. All right. What else we got, gentlemen? Is it time to do a baseball preview yet, or is that next week?
Well, let me ask a question. Was there riots with the University of Kentucky fans after their loss?
If there were, they didn't make the news.
Okay, maybe because I thought I had heard something about Kentucky fans going after one of the referees' companies, something like that. I mean, am I the only one that heard that?
Stand by, I'm looking it up.
I haven't heard that.
Well, I mean, then let's just. I know it's a pain in the ass, Chris, but make this an edit point. If none of us have heard it, let's not do our homework on the air and then try to fucking sit here and form an opinion, because we're going to sound like idiots.
Well, attention UK riots in Google. Whoops, forgot there's the United Kingdom.
Yeah, the Brexit riots.
As it turns out, the Brits were pretty pissed off that Kentucky.
Yeah, who knew they even followed basketball over there?
Let's see. The University of Kentucky riots, not since 2015. So, yeah, maybe it was someone covering something thinking there was a riot, but I mean, there's nothing big enough to make Google News. Maybe somebody burned a couch in Louisville or some shit like that. I don't know.
That happens. It probably happens during basketball and football season at Michigan State at least once a week, so that's no big deal. It don't even have to be basketball or football season. That just happens once a week at a party at Michigan State.
Yeah, school will be getting out here in a few weeks. They'll probably just burn a couch just because. Hey, we're out of school. See you in the fall.
They don't feel like moving it.
And you know what? That's not far from the truth, man.
But you know what I'm talking about? Moving me out of the dorm? Fuck that.
Oh, shit.
All right.
You know what, though, guys? On the real, with the shit show that's become the NHL, the terrible coverage of the NBA, and the what the fuck is in the NFL, I don't know. I think Major League Baseball is going to take off here. Well, I mean, it's the only league that really hasn't, well, I say really hasn't fucked with the game that much, but they've taken the intentional walk out. But there's ways around that. You get it over the plate, way over the plate, way under the plate, way inside, way outside. So you can still walk.
I don't know how down I am for these new rule changes of baseball, but then again, I'm sure the purists when the DH showed up were all shaking their fists and going, "You're ruining the game." Oh. So I just don't know how down I am with that. What is it? That extra inning rule in the World Baseball Classic. That's supposedly they're already doing it in some of the minor leagues. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's not a part of baseball this year. But we'll see.
Well, not yet, at least. But I do think it's interesting that, taking out of the intentional walk is the most controversial thing that's happened to baseball. Since the Cubs won the World Series, and I mean, no league has escaped the fuckery of the off season or the fuckery that goes on during the season in that period of time besides baseball. Which is ironic considering that how many times baseball was on the hot seat in the mid-'90s up through the mid-2000s, between the strike in the mid-'90s and the steroid use afterwards. Now they're the good kid on the block, at least for the time being.
Yeah, no, I definitely see Major League getting a boost because there's nothing you can really do or change about that game that's going to change the game. Like, the NHL... taken out, they took out fighting for a while. Now it's back. But the two-line pass is gone.
No, the NHL never took out fighting. They did their best to regulate it out of existence, and they're still doing that. It's just not working very well.
Right. The no-touch icing, and, they could change NHL. NBA players can sit, you can't touch this person, but you can touch this person all you want. Football, you can't river dance. You know, they could change all of the games except for baseball. Baseball is, you know, it's really, you're going to see one of your favorite players on the field. Somebody's going to throw it real hard. Eventually, somebody's going to hit it. And if the other person doesn't catch it, well, your team might win. I mean, that game's just pretty cut and dry, right?
They've been trying the last 10 years to fuck it up.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said, taking out the intentional walk, and I mean, there's some other things, but I mean, baseball's pretty much cut and dry. You know, there's controversy whether it's a catch or not in football. You know, Megatron catches a ball in the end zone. His ass touches, his hand touches, his legs are down, he rolls over, he throws the ball away.
Shit from 7 years ago? Really?
Well, that's why it's debatable what's a catch now, dude. Because of that catch. So, yeah,
I don't know.
Really.
Earl, you have this gloom and doom attitude about things sometimes. I think another nickname we could come up for you is Chicken Little. Sometimes, because it's so many.
You do know that's why they came up with that, trying to define what a catch is, right?
No, I know, but you talk about it week after week, like, oh, football's going to hell. This is going to hell. Like, what are you watching sports for anymore? I guess it's.
Well, that's my whole point, boss.
You paint the picture of somebody who doesn't have fun watching sports anymore, so why do you still do it?
That's just it, dude. Every week they come out with something new where it's like, fuck, really? You're changing this too? Whatever.
Things change, man. You know, black guys used to not be allowed to play baseball. Shit happens. Things change. Rules change.
Yeah, appropriate on number 42. Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah. But, you know, basketball used to be a bunch of 5'6" white dudes. You know, right? Shit changes. You know, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just happily, you know, at a level of disconnection. But you seem to say the sky has fallen a lot there, Earl. It's still fun to watch. I mean, if it comes down to it, if stuff wasn't fun to watch, you wouldn't watch it.
I'm going to quote Stevie Ray here. I'm going to say the sky is crying.
So you're still going to watch the Tigers. You're still going to watch the Wings. You're still going to watch the Lions.
Yeah,
except Rich. Rich no longer watching hockey.
That I do find funny when I hear people say, and it inevitably happens here in Detroit. Usually it starts about a quarter way into the season that people will say that they are done with the Lions or they are Lions free. And yet they're the ones that every time I see them and the subject of the Lions come up, they can tell me every single fucking thing that's going on from the front office to the clubhouse to what happened on the field in yesterday's game. But they're Lions free and they're done with the Lions.
I will never say it.
Oh, no, I'm in no means referring to you. No, you're a true blue through and through homer, dude. I mean, that's just all there is to it. You're like the mother that could walk in on their kid like red-handed with a knife buried in someone's throat, and she's gonna go, "Oh, baby, we gotta hide this body," and that way, you know, and then lie her ass off. That way, her little baby boy doesn't go to prison. That's how you are with the Lions. So no, I'm not in any way referring to you.
I am that bad.
You're telling Caldwell, let's hide this body real quick, man. Quick, before Martha Ford comes around the corner.
No, look, Chris, I'm just saying, man, all the major sports are just full of what the fuckings, man, seriously. And in the off seasons of each sport, that keeps getting worse. And as much as they try to, you know, do it to Major League Baseball, it just doesn't seem to work out that way. It's pretty cut and dry. It's A to B. Pitch is going to be thrown. Somebody might hit it. Somebody might not.
Yeah, but you can get into how they've changed the strike zone over the years. I mean, you can start bringing up the instant replay. I mean, you can start bringing up a lot of shit. They took out the new shit this year. They took out the intentional walk. They're trying to add all these things to speed up the game, quote unquote.
Yeah,
you know
I mean,
you know what would speed up the game?
Just be careful, baseball. Just the last league that wanted to tweak everything and make it, you know, better. Rich isn't going to watch anymore. Just saying.
I feel like I'm getting like shots taken at me here.
No, it's not a shot. I'm taking a shot at the NHL. I'm just saying baseball. Hey, man, be careful with all your tweaks because I mean, let's turn the NHL into a completely different league 20 years later.
Well, I mean, the things that baseball complains about, like speeding up the game. Okay, well, here's the deal. Starting in the mid 90s, when the Yankees under Joe Torre started coming back into prominence, Joe Torre was a master at slowing the game down to a crawl in the later innings if he felt he needed to. I mean, we're talking mound visits, pitcher changes in the middle of an at-bat. I mean, shit that's like, pitcher changes in the middle of an at-bat, I thought was against the rules for a long time. It's just one of those unwritten rules. It's like bunting to break up a no-hitter or a perfect game. You just don't do it. It's an unwritten rule of baseball. Well, if you want to speed the game up, then get rid of the shit the Joe Torre, playbook of slowing the game to a crawl to get momentum either away from the team that you're playing against or on your team's side. All right. Let the game let the game's momentum be dictated by the play on the field, not by what the coach and the managers are doing with their little chest moves and shit. Especially in an American League team, it's not like you got to fucking, it's not like you got to make a decision about are you going to let your pitcher hit? So I'm going to have to make a double switch, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's pretty cut and dried. 1 through 9, you have a designated hitter you send up there. If you want a better matchup, you maybe send out a left-handed guy against a right-handed pitcher. That's what you do. I mean, let's be honest here. It's not that hard in the decision-making process. There's no reason for it to drag out as long as it does. And also, watch postseason baseball, especially when Fox covers it. They love them tight close-ups of the pitcher looking in, into the catcher of the batter, staring out at the pitcher, and they milk them shits, man. They milk the shits for the drama. That's part of the game. They don't bitch about it in playoff time. They bitch about it during the regular season. So, do they really want the game sped up, or is it more of just, hey, we'd kind of like, we realize we play a fuck ton of regular season games, but we can't take them away from our owners because that's their bread and butter. So can we kind of like, get the pace moving on the regular season games? We don't care if the postseason games go 4 hours long. We don't give a shit about that, But, we can't have 4-hour fucking games on a fucking Tuesday night down at Comerica Park. It's just not going to work.
All right. Anything else, guys? Sorry, I've been up since 3 a.m. your time. I'm fucking toast mentally. Well, have not been the greatest participant today.
Well, yeah, there's 2 football stories that we pretty much shit the bed on not covering, in my opinion, from the get-go. It's official.
We talk about football, right?
I mean, has there been a franchise in the NFL that's been jerked around and moved around more than the Raiders?
No, Cleveland's pretty close, but no.
I said the Browns,
Rams,
the Colts.
Maybe the Rams.
They started in L.A., they went to St. Louis, they went back to L.A. It was the Oakland Raiders, L.A. Raiders, Oakland Raiders. Now it's going to be the Los Angeles Raiders, Baltimore Colts. Yeah, they went from Baltimore to Indiana. I mean, that's
the only thing that comes to mind, Rich, is basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about at the beginning where he's like, Oakland went from Oakland down to L.A. and back to Oakland. Nobody seemed to notice.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's a good one. You pulled that out your ass.
No, I was listening to the news about them going to Las Vegas, and that was just that part of the movie where they started talking about that. And then the endless celebrations in the end zone where people were actually river dancing.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, basketball had this shit on lock.
It is kind of scary, man. It is kind of scary. It's like, oh shit, this is like the movie Idiocracy. That was not supposed to be a documentary. It was supposed to be satire, and that was how many hundreds of years in the future?
500. Now it's 10.
I know, right? That movie come out 11 years ago. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go so far as to say there's going to be violence and shit like that, but Raiders fans aren't known for their tact and diplomacy in the first place. And, I mean, at what point are the hardcore fans who are pissed that they're leaving going to go, I don't care if they have a winning product on the field, we're not supporting this? I mean, that would be the ultimate irony in this situation, wouldn't it? Is it that they do go to the Super Bowl and win one in the next couple of years, yet their fan base is so disgusted with them, they're like, we don't give a fuck.
Actually, Rich, the way I see this playing out is I think the first half of the season, nobody's going to show up. The second half, people are going to fill that stadium because it's going to be the last time they're going to see their team. Eventually,
you talk about people not showing up to an NFL game. You are insane. People show up. The 0-60 Lions proved people show up. Doesn't matter.
When I say people don't show up, I'm talking about how San Francisco looked a lot during their home games this season. That's people not showing up for. That's people not showing up for the NFL. I'm not talking about 2002 Tigers, or was it 2003 Tigers, where there was announced attendance of 2,100, and I was there for a game against the Yankees, for fuck's sake. You know what I'm saying? 2,100 Yankees in town in September. I'm not talking about that. Obviously, it's football. It's going to draw. But if this stadium isn't full, those owners, they don't look at that as, oh, we have to fix this problem. They look at that as they're kissing the bags of money flying off goodbye. So that's what I'm getting at. I mean, yeah, it basically comes down to how rabid of a fan base is it? How much are they willing to punish how much are they willing to overlook the team, no matter what the team does, to punish the ownership for doing this to them?
Cricket.
What was the question again?
How much of the fan base, how far are the fan base willing to go to overlook the team, if they're winning or losing, doesn't matter, to punish the ownership that's doing this to them by taking their team away from them?
They won't, man. They will. They're NFL fans. You only get 16 games a year. 8 of them are at home. I think it's going to be just like all these boycotts that we see that involve President Trump or Ivanka Trump, anything like that. It's going to be something that people will talk about for a fucking week. You might have maybe a game that's 2/3 full, and then the rest will be sellouts because everyone will be on that. The Raiders are leaving Oakland tip, and I bet you every fucking home game will be a sellout till they leave.
Well, I mean, there is the rumblings that Oakland is doing its best to coax fucking Marshawn Lynch out of retirement and to come play for them, even though Seattle still holds his contract. Now, if Seattle's... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying shit.
Oh, sorry. I thought I heard someone break in. Now, if Seattle is willing to deal his contract and he does end up in Oakland, I mean, right there you're going to have people who are going to go just because they're going to watch him, because it's beast mode.
Yeah, but the problem is when they get there, he needs rest, so he'll be sitting.
Wait a minute, he'll need rest?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Well, I mean, I guess more so than not, I agree with you, Chris, but I also think that there is going to be a contingency of Raider fans that are going to go, fuck this team because they're doing this to them. Is it going to be enough to put... Again. Is it going to be enough to put a dent in the numbers so ownership is going to sweat it for the next season or two until they get to Vegas? No. But I mean, if I'm a Raiders fan, yeah. If I'm a native of Oakland and I've watched them bounce between Oakland and LA and now they're going to bounce to Vegas, yeah, I'm salty. I'm pissed off, you know. When that team went to LA and won the Super Bowl out down there, you know, they were the toast of the town. And then they were just the fucking also-rans after that. LA pretty much was like, if you ain't winning, you ain't shit here. Sorry, we got the Lakers, we got the Dodgers, we don't need you. You know, they even had Gretzky there at one point for a stretch, you know. So when they bounced back to Oakland, what the fuck does Oakland got? Too short and what else? That's it. The Athletics? Really?
Rich Gannon?
I guess. I mean, Digital Underground come from Oakland. The Humpty Dance. I mean, it's not like
NWA.
what are you talking about? They were from Oakland.
MC Hammer from Oaktown.
Yeah, I guess he could turn this mother out. Yeah, so.
No, they're not from Oakland, but they just buy Raiders gear.
Yeah, when they were in L.A. That's what. That's probably one of the things that Al Davis was like, I don't give a fuck if it's gangster rap and they're associating that with my team. We're the bad guys of the NFL. Of course we love that shit. NWA did more to fucking. Remember, the Raiders pretty much sucked during that time period. So NWA did more to keep the Raiders at the top of the sales of NFL fucking merchandise than their own team did at that period of time. Because everybody had a Raiders something at that period, whether it was a starter jacket, a fucking hat, something, T-shirt. So I don't know. I got some sympathy for Raiders fans in Oakland. You get them guys have been shit on, way too much in my opinion. And all they want to do is root for a team and not have their team be used as a what do you call it? A bargaining chip, like it was when Al Davis was alive with his fucking personal war with the NFL. And now he dies. They probably think they're in the clear, and they're going to move the team to Vegas of all fucking places. So,
in Vegas, going from 0 to 2 sports teams. There's going to be some dynamite 30 for 30s, man. I think the Raiders one just trumped the NHL one.
Oh yes, big time. Shit, there's probably going to be a 30 for 30 about the shit behind the scenes to get them to Vegas, let alone once they get there, the shit that happens. Because you know what's going to happen. There's going to be a sports gambling fucking controversy at some point with 2 professional teams, one of which is an NFL team, within the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, I don't even think you need a crystal ball to call that one. There's going to be something. It just, come on now.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty safe call for even me.
But, and the other story coming out of the NFL is, apparently Adrian Peterson thinks he's fucking timeless. 32 years old, and he wants to play for a fucking contender.
Is he going to stay healthy? Is that his game plan?
Well, he's never going to come out. He's not going to come out and say, I'm old and beat up. I need somebody to hire me quick so I can get a ring and ride off.
Well,
but I mean, since he got, since his whooping penalty, I mean, his durability has been an issue for him.
On top of that, his stats have been going down even before his injury problems started sidelining him for huge chunks of the season. His yards per carry have went down drastically before the injury started piling up. He's on the wrong side of 30. I think we can all agree on that. I mean, what can he do? He can only hope to point to someone like Frank Gore, who's 33 and had over 1,000 yards rushing, and say, if he can do it, I can do it. But I mean, that's one example out of how many running backs over 30 can put up 1,000-yard rushing season. That's not great odds for a team to take, especially a contender. And rumor is he wants $8 million a year. I mean, which is it? You want a paycheck or you want to play for a contender?
Yeah, you ain't 22, you're 32.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what? He was taking a pay cut if he'd have stayed with the Vikings, but I mean, he's still what? He's asking for half of what he would have made. He'd have taken a pay cut, I think, from $18 million to $14 million. And he's asking for over half of that to play, and he's asking to play on a contender. I mean, first of all, if I'm a contender, if you're a contender, are you even looking at Adrian Peterson?
No, I mean, I'd like to have $1 million bank account. Fuck Jennifer Aniston. That shit ain't gonna happen. A lot of shit I'd like to do. Fucking Adrian Peterson and Colin Kaepernick need to get, form a club together called if you want to start, it's going to be a shitty free agency for you. So brevity is not the strength of the club's name there, but That's what the club would be named.
They might find a way to turn it into an acronym somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what teams need a 32-year-old running back whose stats have been in decline for the last 3 seasons, whose injuries are piling up, and reportedly wants $8 million a year. I mean, if that's the case, he's pricing himself out of a lot of teams' market. I mean, that's all there is to it. Especially since running back is not a prized. It's not a prized spot on a football team like it used to be. You know, teams are more than happy nowadays to draft running backs in the late second round and third and fourth rounds and put them out there and have them be their starting, running back these days. It's not like you have to take, running back in the top 10 for him to make an impact anymore. It does happen, but it's not the rule. Running backs have fallen out of favor as far as the sexiness, as far as the NHL or NFL is concerned. So, I mean, he can't even bank on, hey, look, I'm in a high-profile position. I'll put asses in the seats.
Yeah, he did. Again, it's another person not too self-aware.
I don't know. He might go to Vegas.
Yeah, but he ain't going there this season. He'd have to go to Oakland this season.
He might.
And if Oakland's trying to get, a 30-year-old Lynch on their team who's had a season to rest, why would they want a fucking 32-year-old Adrian Peterson whose stats were on the decline? It's one thing you can say about Lynch. He pretty much left with his fucking legacy intact. He didn't tarnish it at the end.
Right, so if he doesn't come back, why wouldn't they get Peterson?
$8 million a year? Guy who's showing a huge downside?
I mean, there's really not much out there for running backs, bro, that Oakland's going to be able to get anyway.
Yeah, but once again, in the draft, you're not going to have people fucking rushing to take running backs in the first and second round. You can pick up a good running back in the late second and third rounds these days. Easy.
Hello, Mixon.
I mean, let's be honest. Especially one who's going to be, if you pick up a running back, if you're the Raiders and you pick up a running back in the middle of the third round, late third round, early in the fourth round even, okay, and he ends up producing as much as Peterson did, you saved yourself the hassle of having to worry about what to do with him after the season is done, having to pay him $8 million because now you got a running back who's on a rookie contract, and a rookie contract that's valued way lower because of where you took him in the draft, and you got the same amount of production. There's no upside to taking Peterson, none whatsoever, because it's no guarantee. It's just, to me, in my mind, is just as much a risk as drafting a running back in the third or fourth round. You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, I've said it before. I think his career is over. I think he really needs to hang him up, call it a career, and be happy with any money that he has left. I mean, if he really wants to win a championship, then he needs to humble himself, drop his asking price to basically league minimum, or at least be willing to take league minimum. I understand you're never going to go in negotiating. Go, I'll take the least amount you can pay me. That's not how negotiation works. But that's where he should be willing to accept that, to be on a team who's a championship contender if that's what he really wants. To me, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth.
Yeah, he needs to find himself a bench that would fit his ass nicely on a contender, and that's how he'll get his ring, and then he can retire.
I mean, I hate to say it, but is it better to be a small cog in a machine that wins a fucking championship, or to always be, the biggest cog in the machine and never win a championship?
I'll take choice A because you win a championship.
Exactly, especially since he's already gotten all the spotlight and the accolades he's ever going to fucking need. Now he just needs to prove to himself that he needs to do it no matter what championship it is we're talking about, NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB, it does not matter. They all say someone on that team, when a team wins a championship, at least one person on that team is going to stand up, look at the rest of the team and go, they can say whatever they want about us, but they can't take this from us. If that's what he's playing for, then he has to fucking look in the mirror and go, you're not the AP of 10 years ago. Sorry. It's time to contribute where you can, do your best where you can, and get that championship that no one can take from me.
Yeah, the end. Can't argue with that. I mean, it's period on the end of that sentence. Because what more can you say about it, really? He's in danger of burning out, or I'm sorry, fading away instead of burning out. You know, no one wants to be the guy. No one, you know, it's Earl. You brought it up before. No one wants to see you be Michael Jordan in the late '90s. Nobody wants to see that. And you know, a guy like AP, AP's in danger of being the 50-year-old guy at the club, especially just with the numbers he's been putting up. This ain't, what year did he break the rushing record or almost break it? Was it 2011, 2012? Whatever year it ain't that year. Whatever year it is. All right.
Yeah, and if it was 2012, it's 5 seasons ago, people. It's 5 seasons. That is not exactly like, oh, this was in the last couple seasons. You know, so wear and tear, you put your body through 5 seasons in the NFL. Think about that.
Well, yeah, man. It's gotta be getting hit by like a Ford Focus every time you get hit by an NFL player. I mean, trust too, running back, that's the impact position. You are getting hit when you play running back. Combine that with the bum knees those guys always have. Yeah, I mean, 5 years in the NFL, might as well be a decade of normal life if you really think about it.
Normal life with a lot of hard partying in there, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're pounding them on Friday and Saturday nights for that decade. All right, is that it? Are we done?
Yeah. Is Earl, you alive?
Always, baby.
Right on. Well, thanks everybody who has listened and downloaded on ChristopherMedia.net, on iTunes. Best month ever. Fully, confidently say that. It's this month. For some reason in March, we have caught on. We have dwarfed all of the rest of the months we have been putting this podcast out. So you can email us, sporgy@ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you, everybody.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Are you ready?
To find solutions.
Ready.
For new opportunity.
Ready.
To take charge of the future. St. Joseph's College in Brooklyn offers a safe, flexible, and affordable education so you can be ready for what's next. And we make it easy to transfer, so you can stay on course to complete your degree. Attend an upcoming virtual transfer and adult enrollment day to see how. Register at sjcny.edu/BK transfer events.
Are you ready?
St. Joseph's College.
Ready?
Set.
Joe's.